Mark Winters.
Hey, Mitch, how you doing, brother?
It's good to see you. You are a guest on Journey of an Aesthete podcast, and I'm excited to have you on our show. I like what I've heard, what you've sent me, and we have so many. You may not know this, you might know this. We have so many different kinds of guests on our show. We've had all kinds of musicians and all kinds of potters and preachers and coal miners and all sorts of people.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we've been fortunate to have some really good singer-songwriters. We just did a show with the great Dom Flemings, and you, I believe you're one of the guests who reached out to us. Am I right? You contacted us first.
I did. First of all, I love your name. And second of all, I feel like I'm underdressed, man. You got your suit on. You're looking pretty dapper there, dude.
But this is just how I roll. Of course, our guests are never as dressed as I am. Rarely. No problem. But there's a lot to talk about because you contacted me first. And just so the audience knows, you dropped a new single yesterday, correct?
I have a new single that came out a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. And it's called "Let It Rain."
Okay.
And I'm it's a more heartfelt song than I usually release. I'm full of positive energy and positive direction. But I had some trauma in my life, and some of my songwriting friends suggested that I write a song about it. And my brother committed suicide, and so so it's a heavier moment for sure, and a bit of a heavier track than my normal rock with a positive vibe. But it's touched a lot of people, and part of my mission is to be out in communities and have shared experiences that we can help each other, in those environments. So "Let It Rain" just came out, and
Let It Rain, but there's another one. I mean, maybe my the schedule is messed up on my algorithms or something. But isn't there something else called "Gravity," or isn't there another song?
Yeah, there's a song I released called "Fake Gravity."
Fake Gravity. That's
Fake Gravity. Kind of true to my science roots.
That's right.
I'm a career changed aerospace engineer, and now a full-time musician. And I see the world a lot in the math and science of it, and I have to juxtapose my poet mind with it.
I guess your tag is protons and poetry, right? Protons and poems, or protons,
for sure.
And I wanted to just backtrack a little bit, because usually on our show, of course you could do it differently if you want to, because you're the guest, but we usually start from the beginning. So I guess I'm wondering, if you want to, we can cover NASA or science. It's important, of course, how you got to be the musician and singer-songwriter you are today. So you're doing the Gravity and doing the Let It Rain and these songs. What's the journey? So take us back to when you first picked up a guitar or got injured, or whatever the story is.
Where did this all come from? Yeah, for sure, Mitch. So my whole life, I've had this affinity for math, for science, for applied physics, a real mechanical aptitude, and that's been sort of the dominant side of my personality. So love math, love science in school, studied in elementary school, in college, aerospace engineering, which is a split field, right? Computational fluid dynamics is my expertise. There's orbital mechanics also that are in that field. And so that's been sort of the heavy part of my journey. I look at the world, I see the scientific phenomena around us. I love understanding it all and figuring out how it all works. But early in my childhood, amongst the, being an athlete and being a scientist, I had summer times with my grandparents in Winnie, Texas. It's a city that's just east of Houston. It's the rice capital of Texas.
Do you mind revealing to our audience what athletic sports you were doing? Because that's important too. I mean,
So younger, I played baseball and football, And as I got a little older, like high school, I played football and tennis in high school. I was a wide receiver and a quarterback, and then a tennis player. Um, and I did that until my senior year, and realized that I was faster than everybody else, but I was lighter than everybody else. And college sports as a football player was not going to be in my future. So
Mark, I want to pause and appreciate how rare you are. See, this is, typically, and again, I'm not trying to stereotype anybody in the world, but typically someone that's, for example, gifted in math and science, they're not excelling in sports, or vice versa. If they're a jock, they don't care about math, or maybe not so. But you're unique, and also you're good at music. So I guess what I'm wondering, not to interrupt too much, but I'm just wondering how this all came together. You did it at different stages, or how did you? So many hours a day. How did you?
Yeah. It's like affinity for things and whatever. I think, I've always had, just an athletic inclination, playing baseball or football or tennis or whatever, just sort of came naturally. So I didn't have to work a lot at it. I still put my time in, right? Because I have good discipline. But, between athletics and math and science, that sort of dominated most of my life. I had this little spark of poetry with my grandmother. When I was 5, we started writing poetry together in her sitting room. Just like this weird circumstance happened, and I wrote a poem with her about a lily, and I just loved it. And I'm ambidextrous, and so the left-handed me is the creative me. So I write poetry with her and paint.
What year would that have been when you wrote a poem with her? What year was that?
I was 5 years old. I have to do the math. Yeah, it's like I don't know, in the 80s or something. I don't know. I'll have to go back and do the math on it. But
I was just curious because people do also, one thing in talking to hundreds of artists and people, everybody's story is totally different. Some people I've had people that are really accomplished, but they start late. Yeah. Maybe they don't necessarily start when they're 10 years old or.
Yeah. And that, I feel you on that front. For me, poetry, my grandmother and I were poetry pals and painting pals, but it was very like, every so often we would write a poem for each other or paint something, but it wasn't a big part of my life. It was just a little small creative window. And so I didn't really do anything artistic besides that growing up until, so I went all the way through school, playing sports and doing math and science. And I graduated from Texas A&M with a degree in aerospace engineering. And so I was sort of on the track, and I did some business things as well. But about 2011, I decided I wanted to do something musical. Because if you were to join me when I was out on the tennis court, Mitch, I had my little, I had my music running on the court, and it made me play better. If I was out surfing or rollerblading, I had music going. If I was studying, I had music going. So music was sort of the potentiator, the accompaniment to my life, right?
But before we get into the music part, which is really important, it's one of the reasons you contacted me is because of your music. Do you mind taking maybe just a minute or two to talk about your work in aerospace? Because that's such an important, big field in our world, certainly NASA, and anything you want to say about it doesn't have to be, it's up to you, but what's your reflections on that, or what,
I love applied physics, Mitch. So I worked for a company that designed helicopters. And I love, there's a lot of, there's a big difference in the mathematics and the physics if you're in an atmosphere and if you're in space. And so I loved in the atmosphere stuff. It's very mysterious. Even the best AI today still can't solve the equations to predict movement in the atmosphere. It's still a bit of a mystery. And I love the mystery of it and the complexity of it. And so helicopters have, they have a very unique way to fly. And I love the complexity of that. So I did some work with helicopters. I did some work in aeroacoustics, and I did some work doing trainers for the Marines and the Air Force on the F-16s. And and the Apaches. And so, just, loving the applied mathematics of things, loving working with the test pilots, just a phenomenal field of study, but also, the personality, like the test pilot personalities were really cool to work with. But the traditional engineer didn't write poetry or paint or do, they weren't out playing racquetball with me or whatever. Right. So I couldn't find my people,
So you felt like your people were the poets and the singer-songwriters and the rock musicians and maybe a little bit more of that. Those, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I never met Brian Mays. I understand he's an astrophysicist as well as a musician. So I never met those kind of people,
Yeah. Well, also there's David Chalmers, right? The philosopher who.
Yeah.
Chalmers, I think, does rock on the side or blues or something. I don't know. There are some folks like that, but it's interesting that you excelled in this field. I mean, so many people unlike yourself maybe love math and science, but they don't go as far as you did with it. You went pretty far with math and science, and then all of a sudden when you do that, and then here is 2011, and you're going to change career. You're going to. Then again, I don't want to get it too far ahead. But.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Like I mean, today I still love math and science, right?
Sure.
Calculus, differential equations. I just love it. The more mysterious and complex something is, the more I love it. The more it helps me understand the world around me, the more I love it. So I guess I'm an intense person when I do a thing. It's like I'm like all in, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say, and I didn't plan on shifting. I just put this musical event on my calendar for the year 2011. I said, okay, I'm going to do something musical. Music has always moved me. I'm going to go figure out how to perform some music, right?
Excellent.
Be a part of it. And so I decided to play a song for my wife for our anniversary as a surprise. So I found a local guitar shop.
Excellent.
And a guy who would coach me to learn the song. And I created a backstory to be away from the house so I could practice without my wife knowing it. And we come strolling into our favorite Italian restaurant. And I said, "Oh, I forgot something." I went out and grabbed my guitar and came in. She's like, "What are you doing? Are you robbing the place? Is that a machine gun in your suitcase?"
What restaurant was it? Your favorite Italian? Where are we talking in Texas?
It's called La Trattoria.
La Trattoria.
La Trattoria. They have this beautiful little wine basement and an upstairs, and it's very intimate. Maybe 25 tables in it. And the owner, just super passionate Italian guy, right? And he was all about the.
I mean, we just want to do a shout out. If anybody's in your part of Texas, tell them to
go to La Trattoria. Yeah, he's a phenomenal guy. Downtown Houston.
So you're getting ready to this present for your wife's a big deal, and she thinks you have a machine. Makes a joke about the machine gun
in the guitar case.
Guitar case, like something like a Han.
Yeah. So here I am. I'm with my guitar case, and it was really it's really funny. I had never sung or played before, and so everything was so new. And I only gave myself 6 weeks to learn all this.
How old are you when you're doing this?
30s, something like that.
So you're saying you're in your 30s, and you said you're saying now that you've never sung before?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I made myself a giant anniversary card.
Okay.
And I bedazzled it with my daughter, and I put the lyrics and the chords embedded in it because I couldn't remember everything. Right, it was too much. So I played the song for her, and I get an emotional lift when I write a poem for someone and read it to them.
Yeah.
When I sang the song, I didn't even write the song. I sang a cover song. I sang it to her, and it was the highest high I'd ever had sharing anything with anyone. It was such an emotional connection. It just, I don't know. It just lit me up. Can't tell you words to describe it. Just phenomenal feeling.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm like, oh my goodness, where has this been my whole life?
And
I got to lean
I spent
in.
all my time looking at helicopters, and I could have been.
I love those, but man, not like this.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So it really lit me up, and I became obsessed.
Yeah. Well, you're becoming I've been a professional musician since I was late teens. I would say 18, 17, and I'm a jazz pianist and all that. But I've always music's been part of my life. But you're not the first person I've talked with who started on the later side. And so there's, just not to be too preachy, it's never too late. To the audience out there, it's never too late to put your hard work and do it. Go ahead. Yeah. So it went over big, your song.
Yeah, it went over well.
Yeah.
And we had a crowd. The people who were there pulled their chairs up to be a part of the performance. And my realization was, here's a thing that lets me emotionally connect. That's what I really loved.
Sure.
And it's so deep and infinite, right? It's so mysterious that, it's something that I can really lean into. And so I started applying that engineering rigor, right? I got to learn everything now, right? So I bought, we're in a beautiful world today. You can learn anything. It's like all at your fingertips. So I bought college theory, music theory 1 and 2 from this place called Udemy online. It's a video-based learning platform. And I bought digital audio recording 1 and 2, college 1 and 2. And started learning music theory, learning to compose, started teaching myself guitar, and vocals and piano, and started on a journey. Now, after my 2011 connection with my wife, the next 5 years, I found some local musicians. We put a band together. I just wanted to play a show with a band. I'd never done it before. Right.
Let's say for those that don't know, you're a great singer. You have a really terrific singing voice, and it's amazing. Again, that you started at 30 is just that's something that you can get over that. But yeah, so you got your band, and
you never know what's in there, Mitch. You don't know until you sing, right? You just never know, because it's such a visceral, personal thing, But yeah, so I put a band together, and I just wanted to play a show. And so we spent 4 or 5 years. They were way better than me. They'd played their whole life. They were in musical theater and whatever else. And so I learned a ton just being around my buddy. Agave Report is the name of that band. But we were playing covers, and I wanted to, as I started singing more in the band, I kept changing the lyrics to the words, or to the songs, these cover songs. And they're like, you can't. Okay, every now and then you can do it, but you can't just wholesale start rewriting someone's song, right? I'm like, why not? So that led me to sort of write my own stuff.
Oh, right.
And so I ended up, because they didn't really want to quit their day jobs and chase the dream with me. So I ended up starting my own solo project, and composed my first album in 2018, the latter half of 2018 and early 19. And released it. And it was a phenomenal journey. I had so many great people from 2011 to my album release just helped me in so many ways. It's such a beautiful community music is, everyone's so helpful to each other. It's phenomenal.
I know what I've seen, you have a really good videographer, made some terrific little films, and you maybe want to credit some who filmed those excerpts that I've seen.
Yeah. So I have an amazing group of locals, I call them, right? So I love local people. I want to reach out and touch them and help them. And so my video people here locally, Charlie G at Cold Creek Productions he's just phenomenal. He's got a great storyteller's eye. He's got a great Esteban. His crew is just amazing to work with. And so I really enjoyed cutting quite a few videos with them. Early on, I had an intern who did some of my early videos as well. He now does historic shorts, movies, short movies. And he's phenomenal as well. There's so many things to learn in the arts, Mitch. You don't grow up doing them. You got to figure it all out, right? And so I never had social media. I never had videos of me before. It was just all new.
I mean, it's, you know, again, you're new, relatively new to doing this, and yet it's taken off. And you, again, this is a compliment to you. I did not know that you started when you did. If I, you know, watching this video, I thinking this guy probably was picking out guitar and doing songs at age 9, 10. You know, that's what I thought. You know, I mean, so
I wish, man. If I got, you know, where was it my whole life? I needed it, you know.
But that's just every story is unique. You know, everybody has their own. To go back, maybe what do you, is this, I hope it's not too highfalutin to question, what are your feelings about the relationship between music, and of course people talk about music and math having a lot in common, of course, but do you have reflections on songs, music, playing guitar, singing, and science in general, or math? Do you think about often what they share in common, or what they?
I do. You know, I mentioned I'd studied aeroacoustics as a part of my work in the defense field.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know there's mathematics that live inside of octave bands and frequencies. And when I see light refracting in the colors, and I'm thinking about the frequencies that they represent. So, you know, there's a part of me that has a scientific view of music. But I'd say, you know, I think the affinity for music and math and science, to me, is sort of like an external instrument. So when I'm playing my guitar or piano or composing, and I'm thinking about, you know, where voices live in an orchestra or whatever, I'm thinking about, you know, I think there's a mathematical element. There's almost an engineering element that kind of goes into that sort of thought process.
Yeah.
So I think, like, even, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, probably to a degree, there's also a bit of athleticism and rhythmic movement that kind of goes into music. That's a little more internal. And I think some people have a good sense of that and a natural affinity. They're good dancers, probably going to be a good blues guitar player, right? Because they just got that vibe. And then I think about singing, and then it's like this cut, because singing is not any of that. I know lots of singers who hate math and science. I know lots of piano players or instrument players who love math and science. And so I think there's a higher affinity for math and science in the external instruments, and a lower one in your voice in general.
I wanted to make abundantly clear that in my question about, so what, you know, it goes without saying that I'm somebody, so you could be bad at something. You could actually be bad at math and science and be a great musician. That's possible. You could be, you know, tone deaf and bad at music, but be a science whiz. I'm saying there's not always, but I'm just saying, you know, objectively speaking, there is, of course, the reason why I asked is that there is a scientific math dimension to music. There just is. And that, right. That's why I asked you, thought you would have some insight into that. That's separate from people's actual abilities or singing. You know, you're saying now that singing is I often think there's a lot of things I do in music that I have to focus on one thing at a time, you know, because certain things don't go together. Right. You have to, I can't do 100 things at once. I can do one thing at a time. So I have some sympathy with you talking about when I'm singing, this requires certain things from me that I have to do, right? Because you're focusing on singing.
Yeah, and I think the neurons firing, like when I'm playing, it took me a while to get to, I'll say, a competency level on my guitar, as an example, or the piano, where I can play and I'm sort of, you know, I'm in time, and I'm able to, you know, hear and feel and connect with people around me, right? And so it took me a while to get to that point. It took me a while to get my voice there, and then it took me a while to get me doing them at the same time, like you mentioned, right? I gotta play and sing. And then another bit, I'm gonna call it like organic conversation while you're playing an instrument. And so a songwriter, if you're composing with just your voice and your instrument, you have to be able to have organic thought, and your guitar and your voice have to be able to experiment to find a melody through a piece and the lyrics. When I'm playing a show and someone comes up to me and is talking to me while I'm performing, which has happened, you have to have enough of a headspace in your head to be able to continue to do the thing, because everyone else does. They're not in the conversation. And so
I can relate to that because I used to do cocktail piano way in the 80s, you know. And
oh, wow.
Well, yeah, places like the Sheraton Hilton, and you get a lot of rude, I won't say a lot, but some rude people that come up and just start babbling. They're drunk while you're playing.
And you're like, okay, yeah, this is, don't worry, this is only Mozart's most difficult piece. Let me keep playing it while I talk to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's I've been there. I've been there, what that's like. Yeah. That's funny. Well, I think, yeah, stylistically, you're interesting too, because I hear in your music, of course, there's a folk singer-songwriter dimension to what you're doing, certainly. But I also hear a lot of rock in there. And so it's interesting. Do you want to talk about some of the stylistic influences? Because I did hear both the rock and the feeling. Even though you're doing acoustic instruments, you get that.
Yeah.
There.
I had to experiment a little bit with what was my sound. So my first album had a little more 4-piece rock band, like light rock, not heavy rock approach. Because that's what I knew when I put my Agave report together. That's what I knew from that journey. But as I've found more of my true personal expression, where I am today, it's got a little more of an acoustic vibe. But I learned to play guitar playing JohnMayer songs, right? And so he's an influence of mine. I love his blues vibe. I love his simplistic, singable solos that he plays. Just really, he's got a great ear for just being soulful and cool. And I love his chord progressions. And so he was an influence of mine. I love the quirkiness of Jason Mraz. We share this, positive vibe element, which is a part of my brand, part of me. And so I love that part of him. And he's a phenomenal singer. He's such a groove singer. He's so in the pocket when he's singing. I love that. And then, I'd say, I listen to Pavarotti, I listen to Adele, I listen to a lot of amazing singers, to Chris Cornell. And so I get some pop influence and some rock influence. Tom Petty, my grandparents loved Tom Petty, right?
I hear a little bit of that. Yeah, I do hear some Tom Petty.
Yeah. And I think, so as I look at where I am today, I get influenced. I don't know, there's some Vance Joy that I love listening to. Benson Boone's new song, I love sort of learning that song just to, learn what he did and create a kind of a great mashup of like crooner, singer, songwriter, turns into rock guy in the middle of it. So I haven't quite I'm teaching myself piano, so I haven't learned like piano composers yet, but maybe you can suggest some for me so I can study some pieces and improve my skills there.
Piano's a big topic. I love the piano. I mean, I sort of think, you should do what's comfortable, actually. So, I mean, there are things in piano should know, and that might not always be comfortable, but I do think, you want to. So, one thing that really impresses me is when I see people who aren't pianists that are good at piano, especially, from the 70s, like seeing Carole King singing at the piano, or people that's not their first or primary instrument, JoniMitchell. I'm always impressed with what they do at the piano because they're so comfortable with it. And I think that comfort is really important. So I would say, I'm not a big advice giver, but I would say make sure that the piano that you do fits your style, what you're already doing.
Yeah, I would say you that. Yeah.
You want the piano to meet you. You don't want to meet the piano. You want the piano to serve. You want the piano to serve you what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. So I watched a JohnMayer solo. He did a solo tour, and he played the piano on a couple of songs to give people the tonal break for his show, right? As well, and I watched what he did on it, and then I started just taking some of my songs that are a little slower, that would fit in a comfortable tempo for me to play the piano with, because a lot of my songs are super complicated, inverted shapes on my guitar and whatever. And so, I needed something that was a little more poppy, where I might have, the same chords in the verse, and maybe I might add a sixth or something like that in the chorus, something simple, right? And so I restyled 3 of my songs for my tour coming up, that are piano centric, where I can perform them to give people a tonal break. I love Jacob Collier. He's like one of my nerdy heroes, I reckon. And what he does is just his remelodization of stuff, and I love his style. But he's way beyond me to learn any of his pieces. I couldn't. It's just beyond my skill.
So I'm gonna stay out right here. If you wanted to, you could go in that kind of jazz direction, if you wanted to. But it does take some work. But it isn't. So I don't want you to have the feeling that that's beyond you. See, whenever in life we say something's beyond us, we make it so, and we don't. It's sort of like a way to not do it. If it interests you, because there's a lot in jazz language that, and I do feel that I do feel that it would be a really good thing if singer-songwriters, folk musicians, rock musicians explored jazz, because it's available to them. If you want to go, you don't have to go in that direction. So don't be afraid of Collier and what he's doing.
And I'm pushing the boundaries. Like, I just put a song out called "What Does It Mean to Be Human," and it's got a really cool Latin infused beat with a lot of jazzy chords in it. Yep. So on my guitar, I'm quite comfortable exploring in that direction. But as I get, on the piano, I'm sort of in a more of a, I'd say a beginner live performer stage. So, I can, right now I need the bass note to be going in the same direction as the chords on my right hand. And so I wish I could flip the piano around, because my inherent desire is to play the bass notes with my right hand and the melody with my left hand. But they don't make a left-handed piano. So, I'm learning to do it the other way around.
I mean, as you know, Maurice Ravel wrote Concerto for the Left Hand, just the left hand alone. Interesting piano concerto. So there is that. But yeah, music, these things are, as you know, they're just conventions. I mean, it's just the pianoforte was invented, and people said, well, we're going to do it this way. We're going to have the white keys and black keys. And I'm not saying there isn't a greatness or a beauty in how it's been done, but, these things, get kind of solidified. They get baked in, and, we just kind of have to deal with what, right? It's sort of,
I don't know. It's like Jacob Collier just recently, he started playing the guitar more, and he made his own guitar, and he would do that. Yeah, it's tuned to fourths.
Oh, right? Of course. Yeah.
Right. So it's not like a classical tuning, and it's a 5-string. Right. And so he made his own guitar up that made sense to his mind. I'm like, okay, that's my guy right there. Just sort of reinventing it the way his mind works.
I'm really happy that people like Jacob Collier. I mean, I'm not. It's not that I'm a super fan, but what I like is that he's introducing jazz to people that normally would not listen to it. So he's actually spreading the word of jazz, if you think about it, right? I mean, he's he has a great reach, and people that normally would not check out that kind of music, I think he's right. When you say he's hipping people to it, and certainly,
I think so. I think of him as a. I think Taylor Swift did a lot to bring the guitar to young people. She's not a phenomenal guitar player, but she brought it out. And I think, JohnMayer, in his own way, made the guitar cool. Him traveling with the Dead Company, right? Introduced, a whole different vibe to the Dead Company shows. Sure. So I love that category crossover and additional exposure. That's
it excites me though that people like yourself who do start later, admittedly, can check out Jacob Collier and maybe learn some harmony and learn some, and also include those things in your own songwriting, in your own what you do, which is great.
Yeah, I a friend of mine that I played with earlier in my music career told me whatever you're playing for leisure is going to leak into your songwriting, right? Sure. It sort of made me think about that.
Well, it's all practice. It's all part of practice. I mean, it's what you're working on.
Yeah.
You may not conceive of it as practice, but it's what it is. You're practicing even though.
Yeah, and so I did my first set of tours last year. I did a spring tour and a fall tour. They were about 20,000 miles each. Played 60 shows in each of the tours. And when I was leaving to go on the tour for the spring tour, the very first tour I did, I had a set list. I thought I was rehearsed. I came out and I learned what a real level of preparedness was. I never played a show every day. When I'm on tour, I'm driving 5 hours, stopping, playing a show that night, doing the thing every night. Yeah. And so just learning what preparedness was, learning, do you really know your music? Well, you sort of might know it, but then if you have to interrupt it, if you have to talk over a verse and get back into the song, if you have to play an extended solo to bridge yourself back because something happened, if your mic goes out or your piano stops working, so you have to really have this visceral, feeling for your music. And so that taught me a ton, and it really helped me, it really helped me for my fall tour be more prepared and have a tighter set list. And now that I'm headed out on my spring tour for this year, I'm even more informed about how to build a set list and how to connect with my people, how to create an I'm all about shared positive energy, rock with a positive vibe. I want you to take a few extra protons with you from my show so you can go shine them in the world. And so I've kind of learned a lot more about how to have an authentic connection with people.
Now, when you're going on tour this spring, how many pieces are you? Is it a band or is it what do you?
It's just me solo at the moment. So I play a trio here in town.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have I'm working my way into the 100 to 300 seat theater space. And so I'm still, I'll play some smaller rooms, and it's just not worth it for everyone to come along with me until I've got my following up a little bigger and I'm selling out more of the shows I'm playing.
Right. I mean, it's great if you're doing a tour in the spring. It's just you. That's fantastic. Hats off to you. That's congratulations, because that's that you're doing it. That's not many musicians can do that. Let's carry that. So that's
I've studied the master. I tell you, Ed Sheeran did solo stuff. I do a little looping from his influence. I studied JohnMayer. I studied Vance Joy, and just sort of learning how do you build a set list, how do you connect with people. It's and there's a lot of work you've got to do online these days to develop an audience, right? Because just talking with people, how do you find your fans in an area is very much a function of social media these days, and not a record label or a newspaper or a radio station, giving you a nod. It's definitely different than that.
Yeah, we're gonna, as musicians, as artists, we're just gonna have to be dealing with the tools that are available to us, and to put it really bluntly, we need those tools. We can hate the tools, but and still hate them, but we might still have to use them. But the only there's no way around it. We got the tools. If it's this or if it's the computer, just like anything else, and so we need our tools. If you're gonna be doing a tour in the spring that's coming up right now, you got to use the tours available for people to come out and hear you and see you. That's right.
It's I learned also we're in such a beautiful time. I can pop my phone while I'm driving 5 hours. I can pop my phone up on my dash and talk to ChatGPT, and I can book reservations. I can plan tour routing. I can do emails. You can do so much now mobile, right? It's like I have a team of 5 people working for me. My actual team is 0, but I have because I can, my science mind lets me sort of set up these systems to help me. I'm able to really have a much bigger reach at this stage in my artistic career. because I'm embracing tech to help me with a lot of these things that are less, creative.
Well, that's important. Again, back to the tools again. You said your science mind. Before we're gonna conclude too, because I think you have a concert or a rehearsal or something coming up. We gotta get out of the way so you could go do that. But I want to thank you for your generosity of spirit. I want to thank you for your music, for your singing, for your songwriting. I do want to thank you for your positive attitude. There's not enough of it today, so I thank you for that. And also because your quote is our quote, what makes us what it means to be human, and you wrote a song about it. That's where we connected on that. And so I want to thank you for all that. But before we conclude, you mentioned it a couple of times, a science mind. Now, this is interesting. What do you think that is? Is there such a thing as a science mind thing?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I see a thing like, okay, so here's a good example. I'm driving and the sun breaks through the clouds through the side of my window and I see the refraction occur,
Okay.
right? And I see the spectrums. And so all the colors of the spectrum are present, but violet because, well, my windshield is designed to block certain colors because of its
Right.
sunscreen, right? And so I'm thinking about that. And my wife's with me and she's not thinking about refraction or frequencies or any of that stuff, right? And so and then my poet mind takes over, right? And so I have this happen all the time in my head.
All the time.
I'm like,
so first of all, you're seeing something a lot of us might not see, possibly. You're integrating all that just from the sun and the glass, right?
Yeah, just because I'm curious, like, oh, all that stuff's going on in there. And so my science mind's seeing it. And then my poet brain, it's almost like I have to go, shut up, science brain, turn off for a minute, right? Okay, man, that's the perfect light. It's hue, it's warmth, the way it makes me feel, it's touching my skin. It makes me more aware. It makes me more thankful. I wrote a song called Perfect Light. It started off with the title Refraction. It became Perfect Light.
Right.
And the perfect light is what I typically try to see in everyone. When I look at you, Mitch, I'm trying to think of what's the best of you. How can I help you bring the best of you out? And so we're, in my mind, we're compelled to find the perfect light in each other to make the best connection we can. And so my poet mind sort of juxtaposes on top of my science mind. And so when I write lyrics, I have to decide how much of each one, because if I make it too poetic, people are like, dude, that's great poetry, but the song that's too hard to relate to. It's too tangential. And then if I put too much science in it, people are like, way nerdy, dude, stop it. So I'm able to blend it.
That's the change from refraction to perfect light. That's quite a shift over there with the you're already doing that.
Yeah. And I have a great songwriting community here in Houston that I'm involved with, and I have some great, people who I like to co-write with. And so I try to help. It's been a journey. The last 3 years, I've really learned to find an authentic way for me to write and present my music so that it has enough of me in it, enough of the science me, enough of the poet me, in a way that is received with the emotion I'm hoping that it's received, right? Because if it's too harsh one way or the other, then it stops the emotion from being shared.
That's right. Also, it occurs to me one last thing. Can you think of a moment when you're performing, concert, doesn't matter what kind of concert, a large venue or small venue, where you touch somebody with your music and you felt at that moment, this is why this confirms that I need to be doing this, or reaffirms that anything that comes to your mind, it doesn't.
Oh yeah. I was in this moment when I was on my tour, my spring tour last year. I'd never toured. You're in your own little echo chamber, just doing your thing, thinking you're doing what you need to do, but you don't know. Because social media doesn't let you connect with people for real, right? It's such a one step away from being a real human connection. And so I'm out in the show. I had a lot of amazing moments, but the most amazing one, I'm out in Oregon. I'm playing a show. It's in a small community, like 60,000 people. They have one main hub that's a restaurant and a live music venue, and a game room. It's like a family-ish
Right.
vibe, but they do have, a couple bars in it. But it's sort of the hub of the community for social. And so
Okay.
I'm there, I'm playing, I'm about 3 songs into my set. Lovely people, great crowd. And in from the far wing comes a couple.
Oh, wow.
And the couple it's a man and a woman. She comes in and she's in an electric wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
She's got this she's about 30 years old. She's got this big, tall, white pole with a flag on the top.
Okay.
So it's about 6 feet in the air.
Yeah.
I guess that's what people can see her. And so he walks straight ahead. She starts turning towards the live performance area, right? And there's between the bar and the restaurant and the game room is where the live performance area is. And there's a small archway between them, right? And so she parks up by the archway, and I finish that song. And then when I start my second song, or my whatever, fourth song, she comes out on the dance floor and she starts dancing in her wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And Mitch, she's good. She's got the thing swaying to the beat of the music. She's spinning around. She's lost in the moment. She's phenomenal. I almost stopped playing. It's like I'm mesmerized. I can just see it in my eye right now for her doing a thing.
Yeah.
And when I finish my set and I go to take a break, she comes up to me and she says, thank you for sharing your music. It's really moving me. And I said, well, thank you for being here with me. And she said, I have a neuromuscular degenerative disorder.
Okay.
There's no treatment for it.
Oh.
It's hereditary.
Huh.
And how I have been coached to fight its progression by my neurology team is to go find positive experiences and immerse myself in them.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm about to cry now. And she said, you are just oozing positivity. And that's what I need in my life. And she asked me to hold her hands and we could just be in the moment together to share energy. I still have a little choked up thoughts thinking about it. But that was an amazing moment in my life. I don't know if she knew how much it meant to me for her, to be there with me. And she's become a super fan, and she notes online and whatever else. It's like, okay. So I knew at that moment that I was touching people, which is why I do what I do.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to conclude this beautiful episode. That story illustrates why the arts exist. It's why we do music. It's why we maybe do anything that we do, hopefully, as humans. So I really thank you for this, and it's been really great. Name is Mark Winter, and tell people to catch you on tour.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah. First of all, thank you, Mitch, for having me, and thank you for being a patron of the arts and a supporter. I appreciate that. You can find my project information at markwintersmusic.com. That's Mark with a K. You will find my tour schedule there, as well as links to my music. If you want a few extra protons in your life, you can join my fan email list, and I'll share some behind the scenes stuff there and a little extra positive mojo. But I'll be leaving for my spring tour going west, Western US states and Canada at the end of March. And the fall is on the East Coast, and it starts in June.
Well, thank you, Mark Winters. Look forward to all of that.
Thank you, Mitch, for having me.